Are you excited? You should be. Crush your limiting beliefs. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to show you 5 ways to reframe rejection and boost your self-confidence now. Okay, so who is this training for? Is this really worth your time sticking around? Let me just give you an idea. Well, if you've ever felt like you don't belong, you felt like a bit of a misfit, somebody who's been struggling to find purpose in their life, but knows deep down you're meant to do more in your life, absolutely, but just kind of always been a self-sabotager. Can't figure out why, but you self-sabotage. You get close to the end and you quit or think you are not good enough. And lastly, for those that have been feeling lost and alone, but don't actually want to admit it because you know what? Hey, let's not admit, but we can be a little bit proud, maybe even egotistical at times, but hey, it's okay. This is the right place for you because this is a safe place to learn. So that now moves us into who this training is not for. These are the people I would love for you to sign out right now. Sorry, we don't want you. Narcissist, get out of the group. Not interested. Sorry, get out. People who lack empathy, people who don't care about other people, don't even worry about it. Like, we don't even want you on the team. We don't want you in the group. Additionally, closed-minded people and selfish jerks, just you can sign right out now, no problem. We don't need you, mainly because our training has to do with dealing with people like you. So if you're on the call and you're getting the training, that is supposed to be for people who actually want to help the world and help themselves and, be better versions of themselves, then, those are the people we want in the group. So if you're not really open-minded or you think that you're perfect already, you're super judgmental to everybody else, we don't want you. So you can just sign out right now. Thanks. What will life look like if you actually had a clear understanding of what was really holding you back? And I mean, really holding you back. What if rejection actually worked in your favor? Do you have actually a clear vision of your future? And I mean, really think about a clear version and what that means. Can you tell yourself you know exactly where you're going to be in 10 years? And a lot of people say no. Well, and a lot of people think that's not even a possibility, but I'm telling you that it is. You have to be flexible in how you get there. And, there's different factors, but we talk about that more in training. That's why if you haven't thought about it before, then, well, maybe we have to expand your mind and your thinking. What would life look like if you kept doing what you're doing? You continued to feel alone. You didn't recognize kind of the patterns that you were in and had a way to actually help you break those patterns. What if you don't learn healthy boundaries and these things keep happening over and over again? What would life look like then? Well, if you're, they say the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. But the reality is 95%, maybe more, of people just kind of are living in a version of a Groundhog Day and don't even realize it because they don't want to stop and actually reflect on things. They just want more. They want to move forward to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, and never stop and slow down. And that's actually what broke me, was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it made me really recognize my PTSD. I'd been talking about it for years and years and years, and I was giving more and more and more, but I gave till I bled because I wasn't taking anything for myself the way that I really needed to grow. And it broke me, and that was the best thing for me, because then it made me put on my own oxygen mask. In the next 25 minutes, we're going to ask the universe why they sent you over to me, right? Let's have some fun with this. If you haven't noticed, there's a bunch of little cutesy things around the screen. Obviously, there's a bigger picture here. There is clues that lead to other places, but I can't really talk about that in this training. All I can suggest is that you pay attention to it, and it's a whole lot of fun, because that is just what we do, is learning to have fun. I realized in my life I never actually learned how to have fun because I had so many walls that I had around me that I didn't know how to just kind of relax and let go. And that's something I've had to learn over the years. And I didn't really learn it until, I'd have to say, until 2020 when I really almost broke because I was almost playing the role of just doing what always needed to be done versus stopping and really being in the moment. Well, why stick around? Well, first and foremost, if you want to learn more of the concepts of what rapid mindset transformation is and how to truly build confidence when you've had low self worth. And I have to say, I have had the lowest of self worths even after having the most success because everything has to do with how you feel internally. So, if you want to learn more about yourself and maybe laugh a little, maybe pay attention to a couple other things, maybe just give yourself a chance, then this could be right for you. This could be right for you. Does any of this sound like you? Constantly apologizing for things that aren't your fault, or maybe not apologizing at all? Maybe really be honest with yourself and think of the narrative that you've been telling yourself all day, every day, most of the time. So many times in the day, like we're telling ourselves not great things about ourselves in our minds. I can't, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough. And then sometimes we have the opposite where we're telling ourselves, hey, we're rock stars, and then we don't really feel like that. There's a bit of a mismatch. And I definitely was that. I've almost played every character in life. I've had so many different blessings and opportunities, but growing up extremely abused, being in constant abuse, made me feel like I didn't have any self-worth. However, I did go to school and play the role of being everyone's friends and being one type of person, and wanting to help the world and wanting to be that people pleaser made me almost develop different identities in that. And I was so confused because I was always battling myself internally and my self-worth. So it didn't matter what I achieved in the outside world, I never felt like I was good enough inside. And that eventually led to me breaking down. And there's no shame in that because I didn't break. I would say my breakdown was a breakthrough because that was finally the opportunity I needed to stop and put on my oxygen mask. And it was the best thing that ever happened because it helped me articulate more of what was in my mind and help more people. Hey, whoa, this is great. You should be feeling like this is fantastic. Confidence is already boosting. This is exactly what we're going to be doing, and this is what we're going to show you in this training. How to build confidence, how to be silly, how to love yourself, who cares? You might not be as crazy and wacky as me. That's fine. Don't worry. You can make fun of me, put it on me. That's just be yourself, but have your quirks. It's all good. When you remove self-doubt and you believe that you can achieve things, you'd be surprised how different life becomes and what you think. In this training, we're going to break down the 5 pillars to actually help you reframe rejection in order to boost self-confidence, because really that fear of rejection comes back to so much of our self-worth, which has to do with our confidence. So obstacles as opportunities, flexibility, self-reflection, map your journey, and refresh self-awareness. We're going to talk about those 5 points in a little bit more detail. I want you to think for a second the old stories that have been running in your mind, because really all of this goes back to that. So the narrative that have been in our minds on repeat since we were young, the stories we've been telling ourselves over and over and over again, generally don't start as great and don't start as good. Like I was sexually abused as a child, and that affected my self-worth incredibly, obviously, because you feel that it's your fault. And no matter what happens, I'm put in a position where people that are meant to protect me didn't. And then more and more things in my life, more people that were supposed to protect me in parental roles didn't. But I didn't tell anybody because I thought it was my fault. Well, that affected my self-worth. So right there from a young child, my narrative and my story were not good. So I had to learn new ways, new strategies, and new things in order to build new stories in my mind and recognize certain things as success, and that I was allowed to have those things and celebrate those things. But that took me a long time to do that. This is where we're going to dive a little deeper into reframing rejection into actually a positive thing. And I know it's hard to do in that moment, but let me tell you, it is definitely possible. Obstacles as opportunities is a really good place to start, because so many times this is where we fall into that category of comparison. We are constantly comparing ourselves to other people, and that is the worst thing we can do, because then we're not focusing on our own unique abilities. You actually don't know what somebody's been through. You don't. And it's like so many people, if you walk into a chapter of my life right now at different times, based on the photos you see, the people you talk to, uh, whatever narrative you want to create in your mind, that's based on your perception of me. It has nothing to do with me. That is why it's so important we master our own minds. I remember being rejected by girls because they thought I wasn't pretty enough or smart enough to be in their group. They didn't say it to me per se, but they did many things along with that made me feel that way because they had to have the best of the best. But really, when I looked back, I realized the issues with them that they had to deal with had nothing to do with me, and it comes across because they are putting their negative energy toward me. So at that time, I remember being hurt and feeling rejected, like there's my fault, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, and telling myself a narrative like that. But I used that to drive me forward to actually prove, hey, wait a minute, maybe I'll show you, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean that was the right motivation at the time, but I remember reanalyzing that situation. And now looking back, I go, okay, well, I've learned two things from that situation. One, why was I motivated? What was the really underlying issue and what was I driven by? And then I learned something about myself. And now I just know not to associate with those types of people at all. But it took the lesson, but it drove me forward. It got me out of my comfort zone. So I was able to reframe that rejection and not take that stuff personally because it had nothing to do really with me and stop comparing. Flexibility. So many people are so stuck on one point of view and so stuck on having to be right, they can't actually think outside themselves. And that's really a shame because, you have to be flexible in your ways to get somewhere, even if you have a mindset or a goal. But if you're holding on too tight, it's kind of that theory of if you had a dollar bill and you're holding on to it super, super tight, but if you let go of it, there's $100 bill right there. Like, but you can't hold on to one thing and get the next thing. You have to kind of ask yourself, why do I really want this? And what's the real outcome that I desire? And what do I hope to gain? Because you might find that it's something that you shouldn't have even been holding on to so tightly in the first place. If you were a little more flexible, a little more carefree in your ways to get there and more free thinking, you'll find that you're able to not be so hard on yourself. Very serious reflection question for you. Are you rejecting yourself? I will say most people are, and I definitely was one of those people. And you can never achieve your goals or get to where you want to be in life if you're rejecting yourself. It's impossible. And then you're just going to feed into continuous self-doubt. And how are you ever going to get to where you want to go? And then you kind of fall into the role of continuously playing victim, and then other people don't want to be around you. And this is one of those things. It's like, even with myself being abused, the wound was not my fault, but the healing is my responsibility. So I even had to be honest with myself there, and I needed to stop rejecting myself because of things that happened to me. And even though I was mad at life, you can blame it on anything. You can even blame it on God. Why would God do something so horrible to me? Why would I be abused from a child, then abused again and again and again and over and over and over again? Why would such a thing happen to me? And feel sorry for myself and blame everyone else, but instead say, you know what? Maybe life happened for me. Maybe all of this happened so that I could help more people not feel the way I felt and talk about the things that need to be talked about. Maybe that's why it happened, and maybe God did something for me, not against me. Whether you believe in that or not doesn't matter. Maybe that's not what it is. Maybe that's you need to feel and be where you need to be. And that's the beauty of this. And then you get to feel confident in who you are. Map your journey. This is so important because how the heck are you going to know where you're going if you don't even have a plan on how to get there or what you're going to do? Some idea. What do you want to learn? What do you really want to learn? How can you get to self-acceptance? What negative things are you running through in your head over and over again? So let's make a note of the negative events that have most influenced your life from your earliest pain memory. Let's start there because that is something that has shaped you, and what do you want to learn from it? And let's reset it. When you get rejected, congratulations, you just got out of your comfort zone. I know that it sounds crazy, especially if you've been rejected in every possible way, but maybe it's an opportunity to say, I'm going to find a better way. And maybe not conform to anybody's way. Maybe that's what you have to do. Maybe you have to do something totally new. But don't overwhelm yourself in that either. Maybe you have to follow somebody else who's already done something similar, right? It's just finding your place and refreshing self-awareness so you can be the best possible version of yourself.